Alright guys, in today's video we're working on a 2012 Chevrolet Cruze, and I'm going to go over what's involved with replacing a defective key fob with a genuine OEM General Motors part. This particular vehicle is part of the first generation, so what I'm covering is going to be good for the Chevrolet Cruze from 2011 to 2015, as well as the 2016 Chevrolet Cruze Limited. And they all have a key fob that looks like this with a little flip-up blade that's cut on both sides if we kind of zoom in here, right? So this particular one here, what's happening is the button is developing a crack, and so moisture is going to be able to get in. The owner's got two. This one looks like this, and the other one is much worse, where the button, as we can see, is already busted. And what happens when these finally break, they're no longer operative, but then water and debris starts to get in here, and eventually it'll destroy the circuit board, and the whole thing becomes just good for the recycling bin. So what we're going to replace this with, well, let me show you a couple of different part numbers. This first part number is a 2333 5583, and this is what GM calls an uncoated key. You can see on the side it's not cut. The blade is not been cut yet for a vehicle, right? And so this is an example of a key that has to be taken to a locksmith and put on a special machine to cut it for the vehicle. Now, in my area, and I think in a lot of areas, most locksmiths will only cut these OEM keys. If you get some kind of aftermarket junk off of Temu or Amazon or something, they won't cut it. They're only going to cut a OEM key, or they're going to want you to buy one of the fobs that they sell. And so I only deal with people that, specialize in OEM parts. So that's one option you can do, and take it and get it cut. And I'll show you all the different key fobs that are available for the Cruze. Like this one has got an unlock, a lock, and a release for the trunk hatch. There's some types that'll have an extra button, for example, to do a remote start of the engine. I'll put a picture up with all the different options and all the part numbers for both the uncoated type as well as what's called a coated type. Now, what's a coated type? Well, a coated type would be like this part number here, 2331 6206. And a coated type is a key that's already cut. It's cut by the factory. Now, it's not cut for this vehicle, because we can see this is obviously not the same cut. So why would you want to buy a key that's already cut? Well, normally you would order this by your VIN, but they don't do these anymore. These are discontinued. But they show up on eBay sometimes, and the reason they show up is maybe a dealer ordered one for a customer and they never picked it up, so they got stuck with it, and eventually they throw it up on eBay to get rid of it. Or maybe an owner bought an extra one, kept it laying around the house, sold the car, they don't need it anymore, and they put it up on eBay. So why would you buy something that doesn't fit the vehicle? Well, if you look at these types of key fobs, and we zoom in here, and right as we open this up, and we see right here on the top, there's like a little roll pin. And I'm going to show you how you can get this roll pin out, and it'll allow you to swap the blade and put it on a different fob. So what we can do is we can take one like this one here that's not operative anymore, and we can take this blade off of this inoperative fob, and then we can swap it with this brand new fob. We'll take this key that was cut for somebody else's car, and we'll swap it out, and we'll put the one on for ours. So that's one way you can do it. And the other way is to take it to the locksmith. So let's go ahead and get started with getting these set up. I'll show you how to swap the blades, and then I'll show you how to program these for the Chevrolet Cruze. All right, guys, so we've got the other key cut. So now let's deal with the one we want to swap the blade out of. So like I was saying before, you can swap these blades. And if we zoom in here, you can see there's a little roll pin that's holding this on. That's the only thing that's keeping this blade attached to this hinge piece. So what we're going to do, we're going to get our coated key. This was the 6206 part number, coded for who knows whose car. And we're going to remove this blade, and we're going to swap it with this blade. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to reach over here and get a little bit of shop towel. And I'm going to use this to wedge in here so that this doesn't flip all the way, because we need to see this little pin. You can use a piece of cardboard, whatever you have that'll allow you to get it wedged in here where this thing will stay put. Just like that. I'll go ahead and do the other one while we're here, so that we get them both ready. All right. The next thing I'm going to be using is this 1/16 inch punch. I'll put links in the description to the tools I'm using. And I'm just going to use this tool to work this pin out of both of these. So we'll start with the new one, just using a small hammer. We'll tap this out, and then we'll swap them. Now at some point on a table like this, it's going to get to where it can't come down anymore, so I'm going to have to hang it over the edge. Trying not to block you guys' view, but I might have to here. Almost. Not quite. All right, I kept trying to hold my hand. Just hold on a second, guys, because it little pin fell on the ground. There he is. All right. So with that pin out, we can wiggle this key blade out of here. So if we zoom in, you can see there's a little groove. And this pin retains the blade by lodging into that groove right in front of the hole. All right? So we're going to do the same thing. So that this is now just scrap metal. Now this is what we wanted, and we'll keep this new pin. And now we're going to do the same thing on the used one, and then we'll swap this blade onto the new one. Okay, and we'll swap the good blade out into our working fob, and then we'll take the new pin. I'm just going to kind of look at it, make sure it looks all right. These pins are hollow. I don't know if it's showing up, if we can get it to focus. but they're hollow. So I'm going to use a different tool to reinstall it. So this punch, if we zoom in, get it on a white background maybe, we can see at the very tip, there's like a little round nub on it. And that's designed, as you push this pin back in, to cause it to spread at the end. That'll help secure it. All right. For some reason I'm not happy with our little wedge here. It has moved on us. See if I can get that in there a little bit more. There we go. All right. Now we've got to have this blade in all the way for this to go. Otherwise it'll get hung up. So at this point, what we want to make sure we do is we don't drive it too far, right? So we've got it about more than halfway. Now we just want to flush it out. Yep, that looks good. So what I meant by keeping it flush was, if we look at it, hopefully you guys can see this, maybe I have to get this out of the way. So we don't want to see the pin protruding on either side, otherwise it might get hung up. Should always give it a test too, make sure it's okay. All right, so we'll peel this sticker off of here that GM stuck on here. Maybe have to get a little glue gun to get that off here. At this point, we are done and ready to program it. So the way you do the Cruze programming is a little different than some of the other models. Let's just go out to the car and I'll show you how to do that. All right, so now we're going to program the keys. So this is ignition where you need a key to start it. This is not push button. If you look in the owner's manual, they only tell you how to program a fob for the push button start. So that's what I'm going to cover here, is how to start when you don't have the push button start. It turns out that even though they don't document it in the user's manual, I'll show you that it's documented in the service manual. This is what the dealers would look at. So if we take a look at this 2012 service manual, we can see this section here, adding keys without SPS. This means without the service programming system. So you can program these keys with a scan tool, but I'm going to show you how to do it this way where you don't need a scan tool. So to initiate this procedure, we need one learned key that's available, right? And so that's the one we've got here. If you remember at the beginning of the video, we had one that was already completely broke that we took the blade off of, and then we had another one that's not broke yet, but we wanted to get ahead of the problem, but we'll use this to do the programming. They're just telling you that you can do a maximum of 8, that this adds keys, it doesn't delete them, and they've got to be the same mechanical cut. So it can't be like a new ignition switch or anything like that. And then the process is these 3 steps. With the previously learned key, the original one, turn the ignition on, which means start the engine, turn it off and remove the key. And then within 10 seconds, insert the key that you want to learn and do the same thing, and then it should have learned that key. So let's go ahead and go through that process. We get this book out of the way, set it aside. We'll take the other original key that we didn't take the key off of. We'll go ahead and start the engine. I want to draw your attention to this little lock over here. So let me do this again. I'll take this off so you guys can see that. When I turn this on, there's like a little padlock. That guy right there. That guy you want to make sure turns off that'll tell you the security system knows what the key is. All right, so let's go through this process now. Start the engine. I want to wait for that padlock symbol to go off. Everything's fine. Turn it off. Now my 10-second timer is starting. I'm going to take the one that we switched the blade on. I'll take this guy in. I'm going to start the engine with him. I'm going to wait for that padlock to go off. Great. That means he's learned this key now. And now to test that, I'm going to use the lock and unlock buttons. So it locks, it unlocks. Great. So that one's done. Now I'm going to start that process again. I actually can use this guy because doing that test I kind of reset our timer. Got our last key to be programmed, so I'll use the new one now. Same process. Start it. I'll wait for that lock icon light to go off on the dash. Now I'll take the other new one. This is the one we had the locksmith cut. Start it. Wait for the lock icon to go off, and we're done. So we've now programmed both of these new keys. And that's it, guys. So if you found this video helped you and helped you get OEM keys for your Cruze and get them programmed yourself without having to pay the dealer, I'd appreciate you paying it forward by hitting that like button. If you've got questions or comments about what we did or about the part numbers I showed earlier, go ahead and leave that below and I'll try to help you. And as always, thanks for watching.